Welcome back to another Chit Chat. It's episode 127. It has been a hot minute since we've been on here with Chit Chat. So thank you for waiting. We are back. We are here tonight. This is a very special episode. First, it's kind of special, not in a positive way, because Emily's not here. It's not a good thing that Emily's not here, but she's not here. She had another little
hopefully the last surgery on her arm.
Follow-up surgery on her arm.
If you've been following all of that, this has almost been like a 1.5 year process.
It's been a while. She's had 2 surgeries, and this one's going to give her a little bit more twisting mobility. If you've ever played a board game with her in the last year, you'll know what we're talking about when you hand her resources. But Emily's not here. Yeah. But guess who is here? Yes, you're guessing right. It is Ryan. No, it's Jeremy Howard, everybody, back from Essen. Jeremy, how was Essen? Just give us in a nutshell. How was Essen?
Essen was, would you guess it, super busy. I believe there was 193,000 people that went through the gates. So Definitely very busy. Definitely more, even though there was more room at Gen Con, they say, there was not a lot of room. There was a lot of games that sold out, of course. Just like Gen Con, there's a lot of games that sold out. And I got to play some fun ones too. Being in the perspective that I come from and different things that I'm doing, it's definitely cool to see these games that we've been talking about. Some of the games we've covered on the channel before Essen, and they just sold out. So the games we've been showing you have definitely been doing well. So that's kind of a good sign. We'll see how it comes out on the other side, but generally great, big, grandiose conference, food galore, people galore. It looks like everybody was enjoying themselves, honestly. Looks like everybody was enjoying themselves.
Nice. Well, today we are going to be talking about sort of all of the big Essen games. We're going to crown a tournament champion. We've got 16 of the Essen games that everyone seems to be talking about, either before Essen, after Essen. And this is going to be sort of our Spiel showdown or our Essen extravaganza.
Spiel showdown sounds better.
I don't know. It's basically the Spiel game cage match.
Yeah.
And we're going to be going...
I love it. Hell in the Cell.
Yeah, we're not going to have a ton of graphics, so don't get your hopes up.
You got to put graphics there.
But we are going to be going through... We've created a bracket system here for 16 of the games. We're going to just discuss each matchup. And in this first part of Chit Chat, we're going to talk about the first 8 matchups. Yeah. That's 16 games. And then we'll come back and talk about the smaller subset of 8, and then finally, effectively, the final 4, and we will crown a champion. Now, I want to say this right off the bat. We're going to be talking about these games in sort of a smack talk sort of way, but it doesn't mean we don't like all these games. All these games are giant,
I like that you feel
releases.
Like you have to
I do feel like I have to say this, because I'm probably going to say some semi-nasty sounding things about games that I absolutely love.
This is your chance, comments. This is the most trash talk you'll ever see from David about a game.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see. I can't wait to hear what David trash talk is. Okay,
Well, that sounds about as appetizing as a big plate of dirt or something.
Anyway, we're going to jump right in and do this. Hopefully you're in the live comments and we can talk about it more. But we haven't decided yet at the end if we're going to talk about the final matchup and crown one.
Well, yeah,
or we're going to leave that for our Discord.
We should crown one. We should crown one.
We come up with the final 2, and then we force all of you to come to our Discord so we can have the conversation and crown the champion together with all of you.
Yeah, and then they can get a nice little badge for their game box.
Exactly.
A little badge. All right.
So, gentlemen, are you ready for the first matchup?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Now, I've put these together not completely randomly. I did give a little thought, but it might not be the most fair balance. You know, like number 1 seed, number 15
that
seed.
sometimes happens. We didn't seed all these to
We
figure
just
out.
did what we could to match these up.
No seeding. Let's just do it. Let's
We
just go
have some
at
fun
it.
matchups. The first one is the Battle of the Falls.
Okay.
Evenfall versus Voidfall.
Oh.
It's an easy one for me.
Oh, it's an easy one for you.
This is an easy one.
Well, first of all, Jeremy and I were talking. Neither he or I have played Voidfall. Have you played Voidfall?
No, I haven't, but I demoed it and I've watched it be played.
Okay.
But even so, and to be fair, I've been a huge fan of Voidfall. I was a fan of it when it was launching. We were supposed to play it. Gen Con that got canceled because of COVID. We had all these plans.
Right.
Huge fan of everything they do. But man, Evenfall grabbed me. Like, if that's not one of my top games of the year, then that means something happened in the next 2 months. So it's hard for me to put anything above Evenfall. That might even be my early pick for contender of this whole draft.
Wow.
Okay.
We can just end right here. Ryan says it.
Going a little too big, a little too early this year.
I'm just saying,
with this
Evenfall is
thing.
very,
I bought
very
Evenfall. I bought Evenfall, and I haven't played it yet. I punched it actually this morning. It looks cool, but it looks like a card game that kind of I've seen before, and I'm not necessarily sure that it's going to hold up over time. Voidfall, even though I know it's going big, even though I know it's going for some things that we haven't seen in a long time, it's big, space, epic. You probably won't be able to play this game in under 2 hours. That's totally fine with me. Mind Clash production, they rarely miss. As a matter of fact, I'm excited about their Perseverance Part 3, but that's not Voidfall. I'm ready to go down that lane with David Turtsey, one of the kings of solo. Let's do that one. I'm giving Voidfall the edge. I'm gonna tell you right now, MVM is giving too much favorable coverage to Evenfall. Let's go with the big one. Go big or go home.
Oh, wow.
Voidfall.
So I guess it's a tiebreaker.
So Jeremy's betting against all of the hype that's been going on around Evenfall.
Specifically all our MVM hype, okay?
Yes, exactly.
It's a little heavy-handed on this card game with card combos. What a layup.
But so
How
the
about
problem,
trying
the thing
something
is here,
different, something bigger?
I can't say a single negative thing about Voidfall either. So if Voidfall even beats my pick, I can't be even upset about that because it wasn't super fair putting these two against each other in the first round.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to ultimately have to put these to a quick vote on all three of us. And we won't discuss each and every one of these matchups like this.
Jeremy's
he said
vote,
Voidfall.
I say Evenfall.
He said Evenfall, so it comes to me. I know, but I don't want it to come down to one of us each time. So we're just going to throw up a vote right away. And then we'll discuss. But Jeremy, I'm sorry, but as part of what you just referred to as the MVM hype train for Evenfall, it is one of the best games I've played this year. And the things you said about Voidfall, and yes, I'll agree with all the things. They make great games. Voidfall's probably no exception. But when you said 2 hours, heavy, it's not exactly going to get my nod compared to Evenfall. So I have to come down with Evenfall. So Evenfall moves on in the tournament. Voidfall, maybe next year.
Both of those could have been contenders, though, if they had not been faced off
Ryan.
literally against each other.
Oh, Ryan. Oh.
I wanted to match them up because they had fall in their name.
Okay.
Honestly.
Bad move. Shame.
All right. Are you ready for the next one?
I guess that was traumatizing right there.
It was traumatizing. I promise we'll try to get through this more quickly.
Very
the next
shocking.
one is Rats of Wistar. This is the next one from Cranio Creations. And White Castle from Devere. This is the battle of David versus Goliath in that Rats of Wistar is a slightly bigger box, not giant.
Yeah.
White Castle, like all of Devere's stuff, is a small box but packs a lot of punch, has a lot of game in there. And if you want to talk about something that's been getting a lot of conversation, White Castle has gotten a lot of positive conversation all across the industry.
Yeah. I'm going to say White Castle. I like games that have really tight decision spaces to them. I've heard the game only has 9 actions. It's not like a lot of actions. I like pressure. I like the weight of choice. That adds weight to the game. Sometimes that can be too quick, but that sounds like my type of deal. Whereas Rats of Wistar, I've watched the gameplay, even though you guys got me excited about it when I was talking about it on Chit Chat last time. And what I'm seeing, I'm not sure I'm feeling as much. Although the exploring action seems cool, the idea seems interesting. I think it's more of a theme artwork thing that feels refreshing.
Maybe.
Not necessarily exciting gameplay.
All right, Ryan.
So I'm giving it to White Castle.
You want me to go next?
I want you to go next because I want to see what you have to
I'm
say.
telling you, starting with the next one, we're just going to throw up hands at the beginning
I like
so that
it,
there's
dude.
no
I like it.
person cornered.
I like doing it this way.
It's too much power for the
No.
last person. Too much power because Ryan's deciding which way he's going to go.
I already know which way I'm going to go. I just wanted to hear yours first.
Well, I won't beat around the bush. I would pick Rats of Wistar just because it is definitely more my vibe of a game. The mechanics in Rats are more the kind of mechanics that I enjoy. White Castle is a great game. It's very tight, and tightness is not exactly my favorite thing in the world, but I don't hate it. But I'd have to go down with Rats. I really like the way Rats played and all the things it was doing. It's another card game, by the way, largely.
Yeah.
Like, it does a lot of other things, and there's the worker placement, but it's all about that tableau.
So I'm going to go with White Castle.
I figured.
Even though it's not my favorite at 2, which is how we played it, I've played both of these games, and White Castle is the one that has stayed with me. White Castle gives you more of a puzzle to solve. I feel like Jeremy said, it is a tighter game. It's very restrictive, but it also feels very more satisfying in White Castle when you're placing those dice in such a smart way. I don't know. There's something about that game that just really stuck with me.
All right.
And I've been thinking about it a lot. So
next up is the Battle of the Expansions. This is going to be a tough one because everyone here loves both of these games. I'm not sure if any of us have had the chance to play a full game with these expansions, but we're talking about the Revive expansion and the Ark Nova expansion.
Unfair.
It is unfair. We're not talking about unfair
This is
expansion.
absolutely.
This is completely
Who's
unfair.
made these brackets, man?
This bracket was mean. This is rude. I don't like any of this.
There can be only one.
There can be.
Yeah,
only
both of these expansions. I mean, they're for some of our favorite games. I mean, obviously, Ark Nova is gigantic.
Gosh, man.
I'm going to go ahead and go first here. As much as I love Revive, after looking at the expansion, and it does fantastic things, but what the Ark Nova expansion does for Ark Nova, and given the fact that Ark Nova has so quickly become one of the, if not one of, like, the biggest game in the industry these days, I'd have to go with the Ark Nova Marine expansion.
Yeah, I'd have to too. Sorry, Jeremy, if you felt otherwise, but just giving those variable setups with all of the different cards and doing that draft. The Revive expansion brings a lot to Revive, but I think the Ark Nova expansion brings more to Ark Nova.
To its relative game.
That really changes the game up.
Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, that expansion Ark Nova, it feels like a layup. Revive, keep on giving me Revive, okay? Keep giving me these things. I played it with the expansion. It adds a lot of layers and decision choices to the game. There's like an extra track on there. You can turn in points for the track. You can move down this track. It opens up another scoring city on the side. It's got these new factions. One is like a raw god, which like works in day and night. Another one is like it steals. I think it like steals actions and resources. I mean, like, this is epic. It was my game of the year last year. And although Ark Nova, second game of all time, if not first, I just know and I felt what Revive does. I got to stand up for it. I got to stick up for it. Feels like the little guy, but it's not. Great game.
They're both great.
Yeah, they are both great
they're both
games.
great expansions too.
But today,
Yeah.
Ark Nova Marine Worlds is the one that moves on. Now, are you ready for the last matchup in sort of what I'm calling the West Coast, the Western Conference? This one, Jeremy, we're going to need your help doing the heavy lifting on one of these because Ryan and I don't know very little about it. But this matchup is Humanity, and it's going up against Evacuation, which I think we all have some experience with potentially.
Okay.
Yeah, so Humanity looks awesome.
So Humanity is like this. It's basically you have these workers, these guys. You're on a space station trying to create the civilization. It's got a grid tile, these tiles that you get, and you're trying to build through placement, adjacency, like kind of thing, and trigger off kind of combos. But you have these workers that have action points, and you're going to be facing them a certain way around your area to kind of trigger things that are on that line. Now, also, there's like a board where you're going out in your rover and you're trying to get more of those tiles. But the thing is some of these, you will not get that worker back until the thing kind of ticks around and touches your worker. So it's kind of a choice as to how long you want to stick around or how far in the future-ish do you want to go on that wheel to take those, kind of sacrifice your worker and that possibility of having them the actions. And what you're doing is taking those tiles, and like I said, you're trying to complete things. There's kind of a public, what do they call them? Public missions that you need to complete, and you're doing those by having certain placements and formations. I thought the game was kind of special. It's one of those things that I think is going to be one of those low-key hits at Essen.
So, speaking of Essen, can you tell us what was the fervor around evacuation? Because you were mentioning to me earlier there was some pretty big lines.
I mean, I can't front, man. Evacuation was kind of the lick at the fair because it was wrapped around not only at the booth, it was at the booth the entire time. Everybody was wrapped around. There was a line the entire day. I don't know if they were doing like partial, day release or whatever, but I mean, before it even opened, there was a massive line ready for that game, starting at 9:15. It was crazy. It was one of the games where they were waiting for staff to arrive. So,
wow,
it's absolutely nuts. That's crazy. But we've played it and we love it. So we've played it and we've loved it. So I can't wait to play this game solo. I have to give the edge to the big one on campus because it was possibly the biggest game at Essen.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give it to Evacuation. I mean, obviously, I don't have any experience with Humanity. I did look it up and took a look at some of the information on it. But Evacuation, I mean, as heavy as it is, it's still something that I really enjoyed and wanted to play a little bit more. And we didn't even play it with sort of the full advanced rules when I played it.
Yeah, I did play with the full advanced rules and with the scoring variant, with the in-game. Like, I used almost everything, and it's really good. I don't think I'd want to play without that stuff. And so, as excited as I am for Humanity, I think Evacuation deserves it. I don't know if Evacuation is going to go all the way, but Humanity I still want to try. And I do think it does some interesting things, but I got to give it to Evacuation.
Is that our first unanimous pick?
Yeah.
That is our first unanimous pick.
Oh, boy.
So far.
So we'll retrospectively call that the number one seed in this conference.
Yeah.
Probably would. I mean, it was one of the
seed.
best-selling games of Essen, so that does make sense.
Yeah. Okay. Is everyone ready for the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'm going to start at the top again here. We've got an interesting matchup here. One of them is a Euro through and through. One of them is Euro-esque, but it comes here from the States. Mm-hmm. And this is a Nucleum versus Apiary matchup. Apiary, which is interesting because it's a Stonemaier release, which you don't really usually associate with Essen.
Sure.
But it was the first place that you could get Apiary. And I think from what Jeremy was saying is it was a pretty popular purchase by a lot of people.
Yeah. So that game, the Apiary, apparently, I don't think it got there in time, actually, and then it came later, and they just got raided.
Oh, wow. So,
yeah, it was one of those where, hey, this game didn't come till Friday or Saturday, and then when it did, it just, was gone. So, Apiary. Apiary is a worker placement game where you're kind of like these, I'm just going to call them space bees that have evolved.
That's what it is.
And you have these worker bees in a true Stonemaier fashion. They're really high quality. You're going to be taking those workers with numbers on them. And what happens is, as you place them, they are the value of the power of what you can use, action points in a sense. But there's a bump mechanic where it can bump you to another spot, and that kind of adds to your value. So you can use the value of another worker, but you can also bump people off. And what that does is it gives you the possibility of ticking it up. And it's got that kind of
Teotihuacan?
It's kind of Luke Laurie kind of thing where you pull things back and you activate all the things you bought because you get different tiles for scoring and growing and all that stuff. It's a really smart game. I didn't expect to like it so much, and I do. So I'm going to go ahead and stick my neck out for that one.
Whoa!
Nucleum, I think I'm going to stick my neck out for that one. Apiary.
All right, This might be an interesting one. Ryan, what are you going with?
I mean,
we haven't played Apiary, although I've read the rules.
I also have. I've read the rules. I've watched quite a bit of content. I've played Nucleum a few times now, though, to compare the two. This is a tough one because Apiary, when you're looking at pure production value and bringing in that Stonemaier production into Apiary, it looks phenomenal. It looks like a lot of fun. But Nucleum, for me, it just does a lot. It does so many satisfying things. And they pitched it as two of my favorite games, Brass and Barrage, together in one. And it feels like that so much. With that resource management, with that route building, with the cool action tiles. I have not played a game like Nucleum in quite some time. And it is it just feels fresh and new. So I have to give it to Nucleum. I think Apiary I will enjoy, but I think Nucleum is one that I'm going to keep coming back to throughout the future.
Yeah, I don't think either of you will find this to be incredibly alarming. But I have to go with Apiary,
Yeah,
even though
I figured.
even though I haven't played it. I've read the rules and all the things you just said about the production that Stonemaier brings.
Yep.
Not to mention, this is probably one of the more Euro-y games that I feel like they've put out in a while. So I'm really looking forward to that. And Nucleum, as much as I love Board and Dice and a lot of their games, when you say a combination of brass and barrage, it just feels like someone slowly letting an anvil go down on top of my head and crush me to the ground.
I don't think Nucleum is one necessarily for you. Jeremy, I think you'd probably like it. You like brass, right?
Oh, I think no, I haven't played brass, but I have played, Barrage, which is like one of my favorite games ever. Like, I should have Ryan, last time I went, I bought stuff for Barrage. I don't know why I didn't go to the booth and just buy everything. I want Barrage. Everything. I backed the new campaign. I want all of it.
Yeah.
So if it's anything like that, I'm fine with it. I just want to go for what I know and what I've experienced and how I feel about this whole thing. And Apiary has just come away, and I've been pretty positive on it. Stay tuned for some coverage on there. We try to make sure you know about these things.
My hype for Apiary is high, so I definitely don't have any.
You're fine.
Grudges here.
Yeah, and like we said, all these games are big and huge and fantastic. But like I said, it has to come down to just one. Okay, the next matchup is one that I'm most excited about, and I'm going to dub it Mandu Madness.
Okay, are you doing two Mandu games?
Both of these games are from Mandu, so it is an interconference battle between the same company.
I like it.
We've got Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard, which we've actually played here on the channel, and Vale of Eternity, which we've also covered already because I had a chance to play Vale at the World Series of Board Gaming, and I had to get it so that we could cover it. So this one is a tough one for me because I like both of these games.
Not tough for me.
But I am not going to beat around the bush. I will get more plays out of Vale of Eternity than I will Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard. Even though both are really good, if you've ever played Jekyll versus Hyde, Jekyll and Hyde is a great follow-up. I really love the co-op nature of it. But Vale of Eternity, all the things we said about Evenfall, I'm starting to believe with more plays of both of those games, they're not... Evenfall's kind of like the much heavier big brother to something like a Vale of Eternity, in that they're just both tableau builders. Something about the simplicity, the streamlined nature, and the elegance of Vale of Eternity, it's going to be something that it definitely adds to my collection and never leaves, I don't think.
Yeah, it's an easy choice. It's Vale for me. I mean, I liked Jekyll and Hyde, but Vale of Eternity is so satisfying. And every time you play that game, you discover something new. Whereas I think Jekyll and Hyde, you can get better at it, but you're not really, that sense of discovering new combos and new ways to score points is not there. And Vale has that in a huge way. So that's my pick.
Jeremy, any thoughts?
So I'm going to go ahead and I straight up stood in line every day to try to get my hands on Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard because I sniff it out in any game that has trick-taking, scenario-based trick-taking, cooperative. Give me. I know that Vale of Eternity had so much Dice Tower hype. I think it seems cool, but I gotta see it. I've seen enough gameplay of Jekyll and Hyde. I'm all in on that. Like I said, I would wait for it. That's how good this game seems to be to me. So I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to that.
All right. Well, nonetheless, Vale moves on. But yeah, Jeremy, the next time you're down here, we're going to have to get some plays in of both of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
While you're here. Okay, the next one is another one. Jeremy brought up one of these games just before we started recording. Ryan and I were both like, huh? What game? And then we looked at some pictures, and all it took for me was to see a couple of the pictures, and I was like, uh-oh, this is going to be rough. Yeah. And this is going to be a really tough decision for me. But the next matchup is Faraway. This one is from Catch-Up Games. It is another one that I played at the World Series of Board Gaming. It's currently on BGA already. We've been playing it on BGA.
A lot on BGA.
This game, talk about elegant and quick and just like, let's play again. Faraway is really, really good tableau builder where you're just building 8 cards and scoring as much as you possibly can with those 8 cards. It's got some drafting. It's got some really interesting hook where as you draft your cards, you see them all, but then you flip them over and then you flip them back over one at a time in reverse order and score them that way, which can be a little bit tricky. However, the other one, Jin, that's D-J-I-N-N, from Pegasus Spiel, looks like, just from first glance, man, this thing looks like the Euro that needs to be on my table.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Jin without even a thought.
Really?
I like Faraway, but that's not my type of game normally. If I'm gonna sit down and choose a game, it's not gonna be the 15-minute little filler. Now, it's fun to play in BGA. It's great to play for a little bit. You can play a couple games in a night. But if I'm gonna choose a game, it's gonna be Jin. It's gonna be the big, epic Euro. And Pegasus Spiel has pretty much always delivered for me.
Yeah.
So that's I think
they have a good track
for
record
me,
for sure.
least.
Jeremy, what do you think?
Publisher won me over. Well, I can speak freely and say both did with this one, Faraway. But I'm going to tell you right now, Jin is going on my table. I'm playing this as soon as possible. This game, you are basically moving around towns in these different routes, circles or squares, I believe, and you are trying to gather resources. But then there's kind of like Federation. There's it's not mini games, but it's 6 areas around the board where you're trying to gather different resources. You're trying to make these magic alchemy cards to score points, and you're also trying to take out these Jins that are around in the different spots there. And it kind of gives you a level of complexity and try to figure out how you're going to take them out, because you got to gain your magic power so you're strong enough to take them out. But it's how many workers are there plus the Jin?
Well, I'm in the minority with Faraway, but like I said, I'm also looking forward to Jin. But Jin moves on, and that brings us to our final matchup in this first round Sweet 16. And this one, I was just recognizing, I think I may have absentmindedly put these up against each other because of the number of syllables, the number of vowels and consonants in these words, but they just sound like they should go against each other. We've got Kutna Hora versus Planta Nubo.
Yeah.
Now, this one's going to be an interesting one, but I have a feeling which one's going to win just based on the hype coming out of Essen Spiel. Jeremy, you want to share your thoughts on each?
So, Kutna Hora is, my other game that I think is I ended up being a bigger hit at Essen than I thought. Kutna Hora is where you're building the city, you're building Kutna Hora, but it's got a combination of going through mines, digging that stuff out, getting the resources, building up actual buildings to build Kutna Hora. Also, there's a cathedral you're worried about too. But the real kicker to this game, this is very interesting. When you buy resources, when you buy land and put things down, there's this kind of resource tracker, and what it does is it changes the needs and wants of the village of Kutna Hora. So you're taking cards out, and it changes and morphs the availability, the want for resources as the game goes along. You gotta see it to believe it. It is a very interesting mechanic. The game seems heavier than what it is. It seems like it's right in that medium weight, but I think Kutna Hora is really good. What's the other game, real quick? What's the other game?
Planta Nubo.
Oh, Planta Nubo. All I can tell you is it's a Uwe co-design. It's massive. It's a massive tile game. To be honest with you, I don't know too much about this game. All I can tell you is, talk about camped out. To demo this game every day, people were getting there an hour before it opened and sitting at the tables waiting to demo the game.
Wow.
That's how intense it was to play that game. I tried every day to play that game. Could not get a seat one day at all. That's how hyped this game was. And that's probably a good sign for the game.
Well, so what's your pick?
Oh, it has to be Kutna Hora, because that's another game I have to play ASAP. Even though I have Planta Nubo too, I have to play Kutna Hora first.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. Honestly, this is a tough one.
Yeah.
Kutna Hora is more of what I would traditionally play. With all the Euro-y mechanics, exactly like what Jeremy was saying. the way that market works and changes, and you can influence the market by building particular buildings, by digging for silver. Like, it's a very cool thing. Planta Nubo has such a design pedigree behind it.
I mean, it's not just an UVA co-design. It's with the team that did La Granja.
I
Oda
know.
and Michael.
Oh, Lord.
And the tile placement and all of the things that go along with that tile placement feels so satisfying to me. Like, I think Kutna Hora is going to be a very good game, but I think Planta Hora,
Planta Hora.
Yeah, let's combine them together. I think Planta Nubo is the one that I'm most excited for, actually, out of the two of those. Even though, again, Kutna Hora I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
The fact that these two were paired together in the very first round. I love tile placement games, and these are some of the best designers for that style of game with the card play and the tile placement. So
yeah, it's funny. We have Kutna Hora here, so we actually have a chance to play it sooner than Planta Nubo. But I have to go with Ryan on this. Planta Nubo, that design pedigree is so big, and the game looks so colorful and beautiful and fun to play. I have watched a little bit of content. Our friends over at Board Gaming Ramblings have put up some content on it already. They came right back from Essen and got to work. They're putting up videos, so it's been great to see some of that content. And I can't wait to get a hold of that. So I have to give it to Planta Nubo, Jeremy. I'm sorry. It is moving on.
Blinded by beauty. Once you see Kutna Hora on the table, and as the world kind of opens up for you, as you start to build it, it looks beautiful. The components are top notch.
I mean, I think it's great. I think that's just tough.
We might change our minds once we play it.
How dare you? How dare you? Come with me. Come to the dark side.
So that was the Sweet 16 of our matchups. We're going to take a quick break, try to get our wits about us, and get ready for what I guess we call it the Elite Eight. I mean, we're just going to take the March Madness theme further and further. But until then, we're going to have a little break here where you can learn a little bit about where I'm going to be going in November. Coming up on November 4th and 5th, I'm not going to be here at our table. And I'm not going to be sitting down for another chit-chat either. I'm not even going to be on the same side of the planet. I'm actually going to be in Bangkok for CMON Expo Thailand. And I'm not the only one. Some very well-known designers will also be there, like Randy Flynn, Matthias Wigge, Jun Sasaki, Danielle Tassini, and CMON's very own Fabio Curry. There's going to be a bunch of other publishers there too, and so many games being played. It should be a ton of fun, and I'm going to try to do my very best to bring some of that experience back here to you. So be sure to look for my posts on the channel, over on our Discord, and wherever you follow us on social media. This trip is going to be exciting, to say the least, so I hope you can check it out. And we're back. We do have our wits about us, and we haven't talked much about this. I haven't even told them what ones are now matched up with each other, but you've seen that on screen. We're going to start back at the top of the West Conference, and this matchup is now Evenfall versus White Castle. And I think this is going to go a little bit quicker. We've already talked about these games. You kind of know where we're coming from on this. So I'm gonna put it up to a vote really quick. Everyone ready to raise their hands? Who is going to give Evenfall the nod here on this one?
Oh, really?
Boom.
Over White Castle. You were really hype on White Castle, Jeremy.
I was really hyped. Things change, Hey, man, turnovers happen in sports all the time. I do like a slick card game. Tableau building. Although sometimes I fall too deep into loving that stuff. Yeah. There was something about Evenfall when I was watching our content. I was like, you know what? I high priority. It was one of the first games that I pre-ordered. It was, I think, the first game I pre-ordered actually. So yeah, definitely interested to see what that is. White Castle, I fear, just like what I've always done with DeVere games, is that I tend to like them, but other than Red Castle, I haven't kept any of them. So Red Cathedral, I haven't kept any of them, but I believe they're the same designers.
It is.
Yeah.
But so same designers. So, just a little bit apprehensive. I think I'm going to leave myself to that Evenfall, that beautiful artwork, and kind of that tableau building.
I mean, I like them both, but Evenfall, like I said last time, I mean, Evenfall is so good. It's so good. Play it. It's just so satisfying to play.
It is a good game. It is a good game. But I'll tell you right now, if it ends up facing Vale of Eternity in the finals, which we'll see if it does, but that's going to be an interesting call for me. The next one on the West is Ark Nova versus Evacuation. This is the Ark Nova expansion, so it's coming in as kind of the Gonzaga here, if you're going to take the NCAA analogy to its... I mean, and I'm talking early Gonzaga, when they were like the 16 seed versus let's say a Duke.
Yeah.
This is a tough call. I mean, Ark Nova versus Evacuation.
Well, Ark Nova expansion.
That's what I was going to say. I would
it is
choose,
not Ark Nova. It is a small box.
It is the Marine World.
Yeah, you have to remember, in this matchup, if the Ark Nova expansion loses, we still have Ark Nova, the main game. It still exists.
No, man, this is tough for me, but I think I have to, for me personally, I'd have to give this one to Evacuation. Just because coming from the idea of like, okay, the expansion is good. It makes the game better. But like Evacuation was a feat. This game is incredibly ambitious. And like what they did in this game, Suchi is a genius. Like, I'll just say that.
I mean, I would agree with that. Jeremy, let's do this in an interesting fashion. I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1. And we will raise our hands if we agree with Ryan. If you don't agree with Ryan, don't raise your hand. All right? 3, 2, 1.
I agree with me.
Oh! I went for the Ark Nova expansion just because I think I'll probably make more use, potentially, of the Ark Nova expansion.
So I agree with that. It's a tough call for me. I think for me, personally... Most of the time, the full game will win out over an expansion if you're just comparing them.
That's the only other thing that was going through my mind for sure.
And I would say the reason why I'm starting to give this nod, and it's really why I'm kind of standing my ground on Evacuation right now, at least, where we are in the matchups, is because this game, it may be my first Suchi game where I'm kind of all the way in on. I need to play this game several more times, folks. This is, based off one play. I want to play it solo. I actually said when we were playing, I was like, I think I just want to play this game solo, so I'll get in another multiplayer game. But there's just something about the way this feels, the weight of the choices. There's a lot of choices to be made. There's a lot of sacrifice to be made. There's a little riskiness to how you play, but there's just a lot of different variables of things you can add to this game that just make it really, really juicy, really exciting, real exciting. And thematic, actually thematic.
Yeah, it is super thematic, and we have two more here. Two more in the Elite Eight.
All right.
The next one, I'm getting kind of nervous. It's like I'm watching a basketball game. The next one is Apiary versus the Vale of Eternity. Okay. I'm just going to say it right now, Vale of Eternity. Vale of Eternity is going to be really high on my top 10 this year.
I don't think you're going to like my answer.
Well, it's one of two answers.
I like Vale of Eternity a lot. I will continue to play Vale of Eternity.
But
Apiary is just so much more game. There is so much more happening in Apiary.
So do all of your games have to be big,
No,
heavy,
they don't all have to be, but
games?
that is definitely my preference.
So where would Scout be if it was in the mix here?
Scout would always win.
Okay.
Scout was my game of the year. And if Vale was like that, if Vale was Scout, I would pick Scout. But it's tough. Vale is fun and satisfying, and those combos are neat. And I love that discovery. But the Apiary, like all of that, like the space exploration aspect of it and the theme of it and all of those just incredible amount of variable player powers. There's like 20 different factions you can be with like 20 different powers. That appeals to me so much.
Can I say one thing before Jeremy puts in his thoughts?
Yeah, you can.
Vale of Eternity is going to MSRP for $35.
Sure, that factors into it.
$35, man. Like, I just saw that the other day. Renegade is going to be bringing it out here in the States, I think March of next year. So this is actually a game that's not going to come out here stateside until early next year. But I got to tell you, when's the last time you saw a game list for $35?
It's a tough call. I would be happy with either one of these moving on. I've loved every play I've had of Vale. I think Apiary is just one that, for me and my game group especially, would hit a lot harder.
All right, Jeremy, it comes down to you, sir.
So I'll just tell you right now, price tags don't drive my decision to see whether the game is good or not.
That's
and
true.
I just don't know about Vale of Eternity. Like, I just feel like I really don't see much. I don't know much. I feel like, well, I shouldn't say I don't see much. I have seen enough of the game, so I have an idea what I would like about it. But I know that Apiary has some legs, and it has some legs because of a lot of the different variations you have between the types of characters. And I can see them just adding more boards to kind of play with. This game actually has a lot more going for it than I expected, which is the reason why I'm kind of standing my ground on it.
So I'm putting you down for a Vale of Eternity.
Don't cancel the draft now, David.
No, sir.
This episode's
No,
over.
sir.
I'm done. If I had a chair, I'd throw it across the
Bobby Knight
court,
style.
Bobby Knight style. All right, fine. Apiary moves on.
I think you're gonna love Apiary.
Jamie Stegmeyer, if you're watching, I hope you're happy.
I think you're gonna. I think once you play,
I'm sure.
you're gonna feel like this was the right choice.
I'm sure I'll like all these games, but like if I was filling out my brackets, Vale of Eternity was my underdog to make all the money when it won the whole thing.
Wow.
All right, the next
Bracket
one
busted.
is Jin versus Planta Nubo. This is an interesting matchup.
Yeah,
I'll be
this
curious
is a tough one.
to see what we all think on this one.
Oof. You changed my mind a little bit on Planta Nubo because I didn't know it was La Granja as well. Ooh, you changed my mind.
Oh, we've got Jeremy.
Jen.
He's like
Jen
a
is
deer in the
tough.
headlights,
This is a
folks.
really. These are like the most equal.
The thing is I have both of them right here with me.
Oh my God! Now look at him bragging. He's sitting on a throne of Essen Spiel releases.
I don't know. Come back to me. I gotta.
All right,
think.
I'll make this easy. As much as I really like that pedigree, and this is gonna be a stupid reason. Many of you are gonna go, well, that's dumb. Well, I don't care. When I see an image like the one I saw of Jin, after Jeremy said he thought it might be his sleeper hit from the show, it took one image for me to go, I really, genuinely, I want to get that on the table as soon as I can and understand what is going on that board. It looks a little, like the board has a lot going on. The player boards even have a fair amount going on. But man, it looks like a good, fun medium weight Euro.
Yeah, these are the two I was saying. This is the most even matchup I've had for all these games. This is almost a 50-50 split for me.
This is.
I think Jin does take the nod just because, again, I do like heavier games. I do like more of a like puzzle, and not just necessarily the spatial puzzle like of Planta Nubo, but like there's so much happening in Jin that you have to balance, like Jeremy alluded to, trying to manage all of those different spheres of the game. It just sounds like so much fun. So that's going to have to be my vote.
All right, Jeremy, even though you can't tilt the scales, what are your thoughts?
I just got to give it to Jen. I need to. I want more of it. I want to experience. Like I'm going to probably read the rule book right after we're done. So
yeah, I mean, it is. To be fair, it is.
I'm standing my ground for right now. I'm standing my ground for right now. I'm standing my ground.
Yeah, I'm all in on that.
All right, we are down to our final four here. Before we get to that, I'm just going to announce them. Here are the matchups we're going to be discussing when we get back. It is on one side, Evenfall, which I have to say, Evenfall going is, I didn't expect Evenfall maybe to go that far. Evenfall versus Evacuation. And on the other side, we've got Apiary versus Jin. Like I'm telling you, just hearing those four, when you thought it was a 50-50 on that last two, this one is like, who knows what. So anyway, we will be back in just a second to talk about the final four, and then we'll figure out whether or not we're going to actually crown a winner or we're going to invite you to come to our Discord to choose one. But before that, let's talk about Phantom Sleeves. If you play board games with cards and you want them protected, you should check out Phantom Sleeves. They're top-notch quality, easy to play with, and they care about your cards and the environment. Plus, Phantom Sleeves are made with board gamers in mind. The sheer variety of sizes and shapes is kind of crazy. So no matter what game you're playing, they most likely have the perfect sleeve. And whether you want to see your cards crystal clear or avoid that annoying glare from the lights above your table, they've got you covered with both glossy and matte options. And if you're like, I just don't sleeve my cards, well, maybe you should stop and think for a second. Who's going to protect the dusky leaf monkey? Phantom sleeves. That's who. We are back with the final four, and we have discussed off camera, we are going to just do the final four, leaving us with 2 games that we're going to take to our Discord. And is this a shameless attempt to get you to join our Discord? Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah. But if you come to our Discord, we're going to have those 2. We're going to have some voting. We're going to have some discussion, probably over the next week or so, to figure out which one is the winner, the all-time cage match, last game standing. So join us when we do that. But until then, we are going to actually figure out which of these 4 games will be in that final 2. Yeah. And we're going to start with the Battle of the E's, what I'm going to call it, Evenfall and Evacuation. Let's discuss. We've discussed these games at length so far. Yeah. Evenfall, Ryan and I'll speak for you too, we're both big fans. We're both fairly confident that Evenfall is going to be somewhere probably high in our top 10 at the end of the year. With that said, there's been a lot of Essen releases that we might get our hands on between now and the end of the year, so we'll see how that shakes out. Evacuation being one of them, which we have had the chance to play. Ryan, you've played it, what, once or twice?
I played it twice.
I've played it once. Also a very, very, all of these are amazing games. For me, though, I have to go with Evenfall, and this really just kind of boils down to not only mechanics that I prefer, I just love a good tableau builder, and it is a really good medium weight plus tableau builder. And Evacuation hurts my head, quite frankly. It's a little heavy for my tastes, but it is an amazing game because it is, like Jeremy said, when we played it, he said, I really want to play this solo. And one of the things that he and Emily and I all agreed on is it felt like we were playing the game against the game as much as we were playing against each other. And something about that made me want to actually try to play it again and get better at it.
So I think Evacuation could be a Game of the Year candidate. And I think that right there, just off one play, is very if you decide that you want to rock with the things that I say on a certain game, to have one game come away and say, hey, this possibly may be the best game I played this year, and also not being a huge Suchi fan, that's where I'm going with. Oh. I think this is the best game, and I think this might be the best game I've played this year.
Wow. I'll be very interested to hear. I wonder what you'll think after you get some plays of Evenfall in, but I tend to believe you what you're saying right now in terms of just knowing what you like about games and your experience having played that with me the one time. Ryan.
Yeah, this is
what's your thoughts?
I played both of these games multiple times. This is really hard, actually.
I know it's hard.
Because I'm thinking about these games, and I think Evenfall is definitely maybe the more fun game to play on a turn-to-turn level, because everything you're doing on that turn in that game is fun. You're getting these cool powers, you're adding these cards, you're getting scoring. Like, there's a lot. Whereas Evacuation is like you're just trying to eke out that little bit of production.
That's more your game.
But that is more my game. And I've played a variety of different modes of Evacuation now. I've played the race mode. I've played the points mode. The points mode is so good and so satisfying. And I love Evenfall. I love playing Evenfall. But I think that Evacuation, I alluded to this earlier, I think it's the better designed game.
Evacuation?
Yeah, I mean, I love Evenfall, but I've had some experiences in that game where you could draw the best possible hand and have the best possible tableau, or you cannot.
Evenfall can get a little
so
crazy.
It can be a little swingy with that, whereas Evacuation, if you can kind of plan ahead, and the more I talk, the more I'm talking myself into it, I'm going to have to say Evacuation.
I was about to get my pen out and write it down anyway.
The thing is, Evenfall could have beaten almost any game on this list. And if Evenfall had been on the other side, it probably would have made it to the finals.
Yeah, but it's just how the conferences were built.
But I think Evacuation it's just such a smart design. honestly.
All right, well, we have our first entrant into the finals. Evacuation is going to be facing off against either Apiary or Jin. Let's discuss, even though none of it, I think, Jeremy, you're the only one with any experience on these. You've played Apiary, you haven't played Jin yet. Ryan and I haven't even played either of them.
Yeah, it's funny that those ended up being our...
But in these conversations today, I feel like we all know a little bit about where we're coming from on these. So I'll start. Between Apiary and Jin, I have to say I'm looking forward to trying both, but based on all the things I've already said about Jin, I really want to play that game. Will it... Now, not that this is something we should consider, but will Apiary end up being the game that does better? That finds its way onto more tables in the world?
Probably.
Probably.
Oh,
almost
yeah.
almost
Oh, yeah.
100% chance that it is going to be the more successful game. But I'm still going to go with Jin on this one because I personally really want to play that game.
I'm gonna put this on Jeremy then, because I'm actually gonna say Apiary. Because as cool as Jin looks, and as much as I want to solve that, when I'm reading the rulebook at Apiary, when I'm watching these videos, everything I'm hearing and reading, I'm like, oh, that sounds so cool. That sounds so cool. The Luke Laurie style mechanic of pulling your bees back and doing things. The Teotihuacan aspect of like leveling up your bees and taking better actions and doing things better. Plus, there's the space exploration. The theme is sci-fi. The artwork looks cool. The presentation looks cool. That bee mothership that flies around is like...
I feel like you're just selling it to Jeremy
I'm
right
saying,
now.
Apiary...
Yeah, you're just
Apiary
you're selling,
for me,
Ryan. You're selling. No.
That is, from the moment that game was announced, I was like, this game looks like it was made for me. And I do really want to try Jin, and I think I'm going to love it. I think ultimately I will probably play Apiary more, and I'll probably enjoy Apiary more.
All right. Jeremy, it's on you.
It's a tough one. I'm going to lend myself to a little bit of recency bias. I've been playing Apiary all weekend, trying to get ready for a review here. And I can see it. I can see it doing really well, and I can see it being reviewed really well. But there's just something about the mysticism, the anticipation, the thing you haven't played yet that you're excited about. You're thumbing through the rule book. You're kind of looking for more. And there was just something that kind of got me enamored with this game, this Chit game. And I said, man, this could be special. It could be another Euro game, right? Once we play it, we find these games like this all the time. It could just be another Euro with a pacing on theme. Who knows? But there was something I came away with all these different actions and how you score. And there were just elements I even forgot to share with you. And look, here we are. Here we are. Jin versus Evacuation. Jin.
All right. Wow. I was surprised. I thought 100% you were going to say Apiary. Wow. No. Jin, I think in the last second buzzer beater.
I like a little mystery in my life. I like a little mystery, a little bit of, ooh, what are we getting ourselves into?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, my God.
Crazy list.
Let's go.
That is a crazy list. It'll be interesting to see once we all play Jin, and then we're like,
my number one pick got knocked out in the first round, so...
Really? What one was that?
Nucleum. I would have put Nucleum as my number one Essen game, probably.
I would say Nucleum. Apiary was maybe a little bit of an upset, in my opinion, in the first round.
But I see it. Apiary is awesome.
And then it went on to get so cool. Maybe a little upset by Jin in the final four. So yeah, like you just heard, Evacuation versus Jin. Join us in our Discord. We're going to start a channel in our Discord dedicated to discussion about these two games. Yep. We're going to compare and contrast, and then ultimately we'll put it to a vote so that you, along with us, can determine which game is the last game standing from Essen Spiel 2023. Anyone have anything else before we wrap up? No?
No. Played a lot of cool games. I can't wait to share some of these on future Chit Chats. Some of these small games, small publishers. I love finding these really tiny publishers and finally meeting the designers to these small publishers. But we'll share some of that a little bit later on. This is a long episode. Let's just move on. I'm really excited to talk about some more games.
100%. Join us for the next Chit Chat and maybe the next 100 Chit Chats while we're talking about games we're playing from Essen, because it's going to be a long time until we get them all played. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.